What's up, everyone? My name's Tyler Pearson. I am the co-founder and CEO of Amalgamation, and I just wanted to take a second to welcome you to our brand new YouTube channel and introduce you to a new video series that we're launching in 2020, where we're going to talk to the best of the best in the freelance industry. So throughout the year, we're going to be featuring small businesses, entrepreneurs, startups, and of course, freelancers. And they're going to be sharing their stories, sharing their insights, giving you some great tips, and answering some of the most pressing questions revolving around freelancing and freelance hiring. So be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any content. And if you or someone you know would like to be featured in an upcoming video, just reach out to us on social media, drop us a comment below, just let us know you're interested and we'll reach out to you. And that brings me to the first guest in the video series. Very excited to have this guy on. He's a guy who's been in the game for a long time in a variety of different ways. He's a freelance copywriter, a digital marketing consultant, a motivational speaker for teachers, and yes, he's even a magician, which is really cool. His name is Tim Piccirillo, and I'm a huge fan of his. I first found him about 6 to 8 months ago on social media, and I've been hooked ever since. He's extremely active on there, and he's always providing value to his audience. Hop on there, and you might catch him on like a really picturesque live stream walk and talk, catch him in the middle of a Q&A session. You'll definitely see some awesome insights into his life, and no matter what, you're going to get some practical marketing and business advice. So if you're a business or a freelancer, definitely encourage you to check out his social media channels. Shoot him a message and say hi. He loves engaging with his audience. We will drop some links in the description below, and you'll also see them throughout the video. I gotta say, I was really thrilled that Tim accepted my request. I reached out to him and I asked him if he would answer some questions and record a video and tell our audience a little bit more about himself. And he's got such a unique perspective into the world of freelancing and marketing and business, and I just felt that it would be really valuable for you all to hear from him. So I'm very thankful that he accepted. It's a real honor, and as I've gotten to know Tim a little better over the last couple weeks, I realized that we have a lot more in common than just both being born in rural Pennsylvania. So it's been a real pleasure. And in the video, you're going to hear more about Tim's journey. You're going to hear about how he juggles so many different tasks. It can't be easy going from digital marketing consultant to magician unless you have a passion for what you're doing and a great skill set. And I think you'll see that shine through on this video. He's also going to let you know how he defines freelancing, how he's added value to businesses as a freelancer, provide some advice to other freelancers. Just a lot of great content on here, so I encourage you to watch it the whole way through. And without further ado, I introduce you to Mr. Tim Piccirillo. Be sure to like the video and show Tim some love. And if you have any questions for Tim, drop them in the comments section below. I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching.
Hey everybody, Tim Piccirillo here, and I'm going to tell you about my freelancing journey, where I've been, where I am now, how I got there. First of all, a lot of people don't understand exactly what a freelancer is. You hear about the new gig economy. We've heard about that for a number of years now, and what people don't realize, this is December, of 2019. And in less than a decade, some say in as quickly as 5 years, the majority of the workforce in the United States will be freelancers, because companies are realizing that it is cheaper to outsource specific tasks, specific specialized tasks, to freelancers that are, specialized in those particular areas. And they're finding it's a lot easier to hire a specialist than to pay an employee that might not be as skilled. Not only that, they have to pay benefits, they have to pay sick leave, they have to pay, whether the work is done or not. In other words, if somebody is on vacation, that person gets paid regardless. So freelancing takes a lot of the pain out of that for companies. Plus, they get specialized work, they get it done on time, and there's just a lot of benefits. Now, the freelancer, you hear about that with the new gig economy. That's what they're calling this thing. And most people think of freelancing in terms of online marketing. We're going to hire a freelancer to do our copywriting. We're going to hire a freelancer to build our website. I need a freelancer to do my graphic design for my logo or whatever. And they think in terms of that. And it's kind of a misnomer. Freelancing encompasses anything, basically the definition, if you even look it up. I think Google's definition is where you don't go to a structured place of work every day and work for the same boss. Okay, it's basically the two parameters for whether you're a freelancer or not. So this freelancing thing can be any skill. I've been a freelance magician. I've been a freelance talent agent. I have been a freelance motivational speaker for 15 years. I've been, performing magic professionally for over 4 decades. So it is any job that you're pretty much an independent entrepreneur. And so freelancing and entrepreneur are kind of interchangeable. However, there's people that would disagree with that because they would say a true entrepreneur is building a business with employees, and that may be true or may not be true, because that's where the term solopreneur comes from. But regardless, freelancing is anything you do where you're in business for yourself, that you don't go to the same place, you don't work for the same boss. In other words, your clients are a multitude. You have various clients. Now, I have retainer clients, and I'll give you my history. First of all, going back to when I was 5 years old, where did this come from? Where did this desire to work for myself come from, to be independent of a structured job, to be independent, to not have a ceiling on my income? That's really important to me. I didn't want to be locked into a salary, and I actually was that way for 10 years out of college. But this entrepreneurial spirit and wanting to work for myself and wanting to freelance started when I was 5 years old, and I only heard this story in the last 10 years from my parents. My mother told me that when I was 5 years old, I would walk around the neighborhood. I know it's kind of weird. I would walk around the neighborhood and pick up stones from the road, from the lawns, whatever. From there, I would go door to door and sell them, attempt to sell them. Now, where did that come from? I have no idea. But that was the entrepreneurial drive that I had. And as a kid, I've had it ever since I could remember. In the wintertime, I shoveled walks. I would go looking for clients to shovel their snow. I lived in Pennsylvania where the winters were brutal, a lot of snow. In the fall, I would rake leaves. In the summer, I had lawn jobs. In other words, I would mow people's lawns. I remember one summer, I think I was only like 11 or 12 years old, and I had 7 lawn jobs, one for every day of the week. I liked money. I saw what money could do. It's not all about that for me. The money is nice, but it's about the process and doing what I do. So basically, I've always had that entrepreneurial bent. I've always had that desire to be a freelancer and make my own way and make my own destiny as far as, vocationally. In other words, the jobs that I chose. However, I did go, I was born in a small town, and I went the standard route. You should get a college education, which I did. Graduated from Clarion University, and promptly my degree was in the mental health field, and I got out and worked for 10 years in the human services field. I worked for a mental health center for 5 years, and then for another, I want to say 3.5 or 4, I was the director of a Center for Independent Living, which was a disability organization. I attained that by the time I was 29 years old, but I wasn't happy. In 1987, only 3 years out of college, I started building an entertainment business. Now, everybody told me I'm living in this rural area of Pennsylvania. What I mean by rural, I always use the joke, we're so rural they had to pump sunlight to us. But it was the county that I lived in at that time only had about 38,000 people. And I was a practicing magician, actually a working magician. And I started a talent agency in 1987 where I would book other acts. So I was the go-between between somebody that needed a band or a variety act, or they needed a magician, or they needed, something. And I was the agent that the buyer would come to me and I'd say, what do you need? Well, we need a magician. I'd go to the magician, if it was somebody else, and say, what do you need for the date? And I'd come back and then I'd book, charge a percentage on top of it. So I was building these businesses, and I remember I wanted to do it full time. And everybody said, this is not New York. This is not LA. You can't do this here. This is not where the entertainment industry lives. I said, you don't understand. Through the power of marketing, I can go to them and I can reach them and I can make a living doing this. So in December of 1992, and that was only 28 years ago, I quit my job, walked away from this career. And why did I do that? Because my freelance business as a talent agent and a magician, I was making as much with those as I was with my full-time job. And I was killing myself because I was working these ungodly hours. I was about 33 years old at the time, and I made the leap. And then a couple years later, I moved into motivational speaking. I had been studying personal development for, oh my goodness, since 1986. And I put all these, these principles that are just, persistence, just these motivation. I read dozens of motivational books. I listened to hundreds of motivational tapes. We had cassettes back then. And I listened to hundreds of those. And I, found I could do this. I believe in this. This is what built my business, using these principles. And so I struck out on my own as a motivational speaker in the education niche, as well as in the nonprofit niche, the human services niche. And I spoke in 45 states, all over Canada. I did cruises. And that was for 15 years of my life, almost 20 years of my life, that I was traveling on the road as a speaker. Now, that's a freelance job because I didn't work for anybody specifically. When the internet came on the scene, I jumped on that, and I can remember the days when I was doing Google AdWords spend, and I would keep my calendar full with $200 a month in Google AdWords spend. That was when it was not that competitive, and I was on the first page for years in my niche. You typed in motivational speakers for teachers, and I would come up number one on page one. So that's unheard of now because you have to have a much bigger budget to get seen for that. But I digress. So where did I go from there? Well, actually, after that, I kind of retired for a few years, and then I want to say I got bored, and for a number of reasons, I went back into. I've been doing marketing consulting because back when I started in show business, I recognized there were two aspects to show business. There was the show and there was the business. And the business, believe it or not, which most entertainers hate, I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed marketing, and I look at it as a game to be won. Marketing is, out-marketing the competition. And I learned that very early on. And I learned that's the highest leverage activity you can do in any business. If you're going to do freelancing, they say now that freelancers spend about 40% of their time looking for work and 60% actually fulfilling the work. And that's very largely true. So it is a marketing game. But I had been doing marketing consulting for speakers, other entertainers, things like that. And so basically, I went that route to do that full time. And I wanted to supplement my income. So I want to say, about 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, I put I'd been writing my own copy since I was 15 years old. So I put a profile up on Upwork and started getting work. And I, have a proprietary way of doing that, how I got known on Upwork, how I got top rated in a very short period of time. And if you want to check that out, the link, I have a course to that. The link is in the bio down here in the YouTube thing. You can check that out, yourfreelancinggdream.com. Sorry, Tyler, I told you I wasn't going to do it, but I'm doing it anyway. You can edit it out. Anyway, I found out I could write copy. I found out I was really good at it. I'd done it. I'd never done it for anybody else, but I started doing it for clients. And to date, I've done it for dozens of niches. It's a huge part of my business. Where I write everything from landing pages, web content. I'm an email specialist, things like that. So how did I know? Tyler had asked me, how did I know what was the right time to be a freelancer? I knew at a very young age. Um, but you know what? As I got older, I didn't know the skills I had. I mean, my goodness, I realized that I was a copywriter only 3 years ago. I started off on Upwork at $10 an hour, just unheard of. Everybody said, I can't believe you're that cheap. I said, well, I want to make a name for myself. I need to get some jobs under my belt, and that's part of my strategy. And then I, leveraged my fees from there. Um, but I knew that I was a freelancer from day one. Now, a lot of people don't. It scares them. They like the structure of a 9 to 5 job. They like the structure, or I should say that it can be feast or famine in the freelancing business. Whereas if you have a job, you're going to get a paycheck every other week or at the end of the week. So there's a safety net in there. Being an entrepreneur, you got to, and a freelancer, you've got to be a risk taker, because after you do a job, you're essentially out of work until the next job comes. So it's critical to recognize that being a freelancer can be feast or famine, but there's ways around that. And how have I done that? Well, I use various distribution models to get work. I do networking. I use Upwork, other platforms like that. There's a number of them out there right now, tons of them actually. I think there's probably like 75 at least that are specialized sites that bring buyers and freelancers together. So I use that. I also do social media marketing. I do referral. I actively, seek referrals. I do networking, and it keeps my schedule full. I prefer to go with retainers, although I do a lot of one-off jobs, but I have several retainer clients. So the right time, it's like you have to know, you just have to make the leap, and you have to overcome that fear. How bad do you want it? As a motivational speaker, I learned a lot by studying all this stuff, and fear is the biggest thing that holds us back. That's the worst 4-letter word in the world. It keeps us from doing what we want to do, being what we want to be, and having what we want to have. And what I learned is the only way to get rid of a fear of doing something is to just do it. Just go after it. And, something's on the bend. If you're really passionate about, the passion for what you're doing has to override the fear. See, when I jumped back into this business, I married wealthy a number of years ago, and then left that marriage. And because I'd given up my businesses, I'm a generator. I need to work. I need to contribute. I need to be creative, because the business I'm in is a digital marketing consultant and copywriter, is all creative. And I love to watch businesses grow and be a part of that. So that passion has to override the fear of that safety net of, a 9 to 5 job, and going in there and saying, okay, this is business as usual, and I'm going to work here 40 years and get the gold watch. Well, that doesn't work too much anymore. But there's a risk involved with the freelancing, and you got to know. You just got to know, this is what I'm going to do. When I quit my job to go into show business full time, I pretty much knew this is, I'm not getting another job. I'm going to make this happen. And that's what I did. So the passion has to override the fear. So another question I got asked, it said, you wear a ton of different hats: motivator, digital marketing consultant, copywriter. That's a lot of work. Why so many different services, and how do you juggle all your tasks and responsibilities? Well, when you're a freelancer, there's an old term, an old saying, the chief cook and bottle washer. So it all comes back to me. I'm the project manager. Everything, I'm the guy that's got to go after the work. I'm the marketer, right, for my business. I am the bookkeeper. I am the fulfillment guy. Now, I don't do that because I hire freelancers myself. That's my back-end marketing. I have people writing for me sometimes, writing for my clients, writing for me. I just hired a guy today to do a blog for me, because there's only so many hours in the day, so I can't do everything myself. So I use a lot of freelancers, right? That's my back end. Even though I'm a marketing guy, I have a back end marketing department. I have social media managers, I have writers, I have web developers, graphic designers, things that I can't do, like web development and graphic design. I don't know how to do that. I don't want to do that. So I hire freelancers to do that. And I'm a marketing guy. So that's how I do it. I hire other freelancers on how to, to do the things that either I don't have time for. Now, I do write my own blogs, but I've been so busy with other client work that I said, man, I better do a blog. And I hired somebody, and I tried out a new writer today. We're going to see how he does. And that's one thing. I will say this, in my experience, there are a ton of freelancers out there. It's highly competitive, and I've said this before, but the good news? There's a lot of crappy ones out there, a lot of shitty freelancers. I will be the first to tell you that. So if you're good and you're dependable and you do quality work and you can meet deadlines and you can keep your communication open with your clients and be very responsive to them when they want to get a hold of you, and when they have a change or they need something, if you can do that, you're going to win the lion's share of the business. I don't care how much competition, there's always room for one more, and there's so many crappy ones out there, believe it or not. I hate to say that, but it's the truth, that if you can stand out and shine and just do those 4 things, put out quality work, be dependable, meet deadlines, and be responsive with your communication to the client, you're going to win. So that's that right there. So that's how I juggle them. Now, okay, he asked me, let's talk about being a freelance copywriter. Freelance copywriting in general is a very broad term, because there are people that specialize in different realms of copywriting. There are people that just do blogs and articles, and that LinkedIn articles, blogs, or articles for other bloggers or online magazines, things like that. They're article writers, and that's what they do. I'm a direct response guy and email specialist. Now, what is direct response marketing? I write essentially sales letters on landing pages and websites where we're trying to build a sales case to buy a product or a service, right? So that's another form, a very specialized form of sales writing. It's called direct response writing. You're talking directly to somebody that would be interested in the product or service you're trying to sell. So it's direct, right to that ideal customer, okay? Direct response writing. Email, there's a lot of email specialists out there that write, there's a number of email sequences where you're sending to what's called a cold email list. And what that means is these are people that don't know you, and you want to warm them up to buy your product or service, but you're not going to try to sell them on the first email. You're going to provide value up front. And with the second email, you try to just build that relationship. It's kind of like sales in print. It's the same as a direct copywriter or direct response copywriter. I'm also the marketing director for an automated LinkedIn lead generation company. And basically what that is we serve a couple of different niches. And one of them is the business coach niche. And basically what we do is take a business coach's profile and optimize it. In other words, who do they want to target? And we write that introduction, their profile introduction, so it speaks directly to a CEO or a C-suite executive, whoever they want to target, talks to them about the benefits of their coaching. And then from there, in an automated way, it attempts to connect with various people in their target market. And then I write a message sequence, which is the same as writing an email sequence. The difference is it's right within the LinkedIn platform. So I do that also. And we offer other services, other marketing services, but I do that also. So yes, I wear a lot of different hats. A lot of them are closely aligned. They're very similar, I should say. Okay, that's what copywriters do. Now, Tyler asks, how can a freelance copywriter help a business out? Well, if you go into my website, timpiccirillo.com, timpiccirillo.com, Tim Piccirillo. I know people ask me, is that your name or your condition? It's a little joke I use, but that's my name, that's my website, and you'll notice my moniker or my logo is Words of Wisdom. because I firmly believe the success of your business is determined by your marketing, and your marketing is determined by the words you use and how you use them. So there's two parts to that: the words you use and how you use them. If you really think about it, all your marketing and everything you do, your communication with customers and prospects, boils down to the words you use. It doesn't matter whether it's text, or whether it's like this video, or whether it's an audio podcast. Words sell. Words hurt. Words can heal. Words can help. Words can turn people off. Words can, if you do it right, words can make people whip out their wallet and pull out their credit card and put their number in and buy your product or service. So that's why copywriting, good copy, is critical for any business owner that wants to get ahead of the crowd. Your marketing message has to be consistent, and your voice, your copy, in other words, how do I want to put this? The copy you write, first of all, is, and I do this with a lot of businesses when they want to brand themselves or rebrand themselves. I said, well, first of all, what's your marketing message? What is the message you want to convey to sell your product or service? And then secondly, what is the voice do you want it to be silly? You ever had Ben and Jerry's ice cream? Read the outside of their ice cream container. They're funny as heck. They're great. They're kind of old hippies, right? Old hippy dippy thing. That's their voice. That's their brand voice. IBM, very conservative, right? Totally different. You got to know that voice, and you've got to have, the tone of what you're going to do. And then from there, that copy has got to reflect that voice and that marketing message and that tone. So that's critical. And copy can make or break your business. When somebody clicks on your website, you get about 5 seconds to get their attention and hold it before they click off. It's just, attention spans are at an all-time low because there's so much multimedia just online and on TV, and we're just being barraged continually. So copy is everything. So why should a business consider hiring a freelance copywriter as opposed to an agency or a full-time freelancer or a full-time employee? Well, they can hire a full-time employee that just does copywriting if they get somebody that knows how to write copy. That's critical. Copywriters, as I told you already, are specialists. If you want somebody, it's better to hire a freelancer if you're putting out a new product or service, and you'll see that on Upwork all the time. We need to, write a landing page that sells this thing. So you're going to need a direct response copywriter. Or you have different paths. In fact, I just bid on a job the other day that has 8 different customer tracks. It's for cold leads, it's for warm leads that they meet at a trade show, or people that have contacted them on their website wanting more information. So there's like 8 different tracks that they needed email sequences for that are completely different. I mean, they might be similar, but they're different because people are different places in the buying cycle, okay? So why should you do that? Well, the agency might have a copywriter on staff, right? But you're going to pay the agency fee as opposed to a copywriter fee, because the agency has to make money, right? That's what they do. So if you can find a full-time a copywriter to do whatever job you need, that's going to save you money in the long run. If you only, I've got one of my retainer clients just wants articles, a couple of blog posts a month. That's all they want. So I do that for them. And I don't even do those. I give them to a writer, one of my writers, who's just an excellent blog and article writer. So, because like I said, I can't do everything. Okay, so I think I answered your question there. What industries have you served, and what size businesses do you have experience with? Well, this is what I serve primarily. You have to excuse me too. You see me ticking. I've got a tic disorder, not full-blown Tourette's. If that were the case, I'd be swearing at you. Actually, no, I don't want to provide misinformation, but I do have a tic disorder. So that's what I do. So what industry have I served? I've served a variety of industries. I've served the alternative health market with chiropractic, acupuncture, health food, health supplements, knee shots, for osteoarthritis. I've done a lot within that space. I've done software as a service, the SaaS industry, tons of stuff within there. I have done nail salons, the mortgage industry, the real estate industry, just probably several dozen various industries. What I prefer to work with are smaller businesses, entrepreneurial, I should say solo entrepreneurs. But the smaller businesses are what I choose to do. Usually, the medium sized businesses and up have their own marketing departments, and they don't normally need somebody like me. Right now, I've got one business that is probably going to bring me on after the first of the year, and they do their local business. They do about 12 million in revenue, family owned, and it's just still considered a small business. But that will be a retainer client also. But that's what I choose to do. I choose to keep work smaller. That's just what I know. Um, Okay, you've obviously worked with me. What's the most memorable or most rewarding project you've done as a freelancer? This is the thing. I look at every business and entrepreneur that I work with as uh, memorable, because if I can just, the cool thing about this, again, I look at it marketing and business in general as a game to be won. And what that means is I want to beat the competition. I want to grow, because there's only three ways that you can make more money in any business. Number one, get more customers, right? Right? Increase your customer base. Number two, sell more often to your existing customers, right? And number three, leverage your prices. And if you do it right, you can work all three together. In other words, if you have a steady stream, that's why marketing is so important. You want a steady stream of people lying around the block trying to get your product or service. And the more demand you have for that, then you can leverage your prices, because they only want to do business with you. They want to buy your service or your product because that's what they want, because your marketing is so good or you provide such value, right? So you can leverage your fees. So that's the difference between somebody that charges 150 for consulting as opposed to somebody that charges 1,500 for the same consulting job, right? Just marketing and experience and getting results. So my thing is, I like to get results for my clients. I want to do good work, and I want them to refer me, and I want them to come back to me, and I want them to use me again and again. So that's what's rewarding about me. There's nothing that really stands out other than, yes, I have case studies. I have one that I worked with an auto body shop that was a retainer client just up until this month. For the last 2.5 years, they're redesigning and redoing some stuff. But basically, what I did was I took them from, they were doing $130,000 a month, or 130, yeah, it was $130,000 a month, pretty much across the board every month. And they wanted to get up to a sweet spot of 220 to 200, or 200 to 225,000 a month. And in less than 90 days, we implemented a digital marketing strategy, an online strategy, and within literally 75 days, they went up to 240,000. So 130 to 240,000, about 90% increase. And I want to make sure that wasn't a fluke. So the next month it was 230,000, and 6 months later they hit a high of 295,000. Just in 2019, they opened a second location, and they are on task to do between 4.2 and 4.4 million dollars this year. So I guess this case study is my point, and they're going to open a third location in 2020. So that's the power of digital marketing, and that, I guess, is a very memorable one for me, because I worked on site with them for, oh my goodness, about 5.5 months, about 5 months, implementing this online strategy. And that's the power of online marketing. And why? Because the eyeballs are online today. That's where everybody is. That's where you want to advertise. So that's my big case study and the big claim to fame. But I love just helping businesses grow. I'm working right now with a local business that sells and installs window treatments, everything from plantation shutters to blinds, curtains, and we're growing them. we're growing them exponentially. I can tell they're doing very well. And so even this small contract, it brings me a lot of joy just to be able to help grow his business. Um, what's the benefit of using a freelance marketplace to find work as a freelancer? There's a lot of people that will say, don't use Upwork, don't use Fiverr, don't use any of those platforms. For me, it's been a boon. I get work on there all the time. It's just, it's those platforms are great to use because it's specifically designed to bring a freelancer and a business owner that needs your skills together. Now you're competing, right? And the key is to set up a good profile, and not only set up the good profile, but then send the good proposal, a proposal that sells you. So you've got to, as a freelancer, you got to learn to sell yourself. You've got to learn to market yourself. And once they raise their hand and say, I'm interested, then you got to sell yourself. Because it's not about just fulfilling the job and being good. If you're a web designer, that's not enough. There's tons of web designers. You've got to sell clients on the job. And that's the crucial key here. Selling clients, getting them to hire you. And learn how to sell. That's a critical skill in freelancing. But yes, using things like Upwork, Fiverr, Freelancer, I think Freelancing, I forget what it is, .com. There's a bunch of them out there, and some very specialized. So I would, yes, definitely use those platforms, leverage them. They're great for the slow times. They're great for any time. I kind of paid the price. I was top rated very quickly, and then just a couple of months ago, lost my top rated status. Why? Because I wasn't on there putting in proposals enough. I was kind of absent for a while, so they kind of penalized me. And my top rated score went down because they do score you on there, and that, so that's a whole other thing. But it is a good way to get work. So what is the benefit of hiring a freelancer through a freelance marketplace for an entrepreneur, startup, or small business owner? Same thing, particularly for startups and particularly for small businesses. I use them. I'm a solo freelancer. I'm a solo entrepreneur, and I use it as my back-end marketing department. I have a team, and these are all freelancers. They don't work for me. They're independent contractors. They're freelancers. I have a web developer and a virtual assistant she's done over 500 websites, not all for me, but I've worked with her for almost 20 years. All right. I've got writers. I've got social media managers. I've got graphic designers. I've got somebody that just specializes in LinkedIn lead generation. I do that for one of my clients. Not in an automated way. This is the same thing that we do with the automated company that I'm affiliated with, but this is in a manual way. And that's what she does. So there's all kinds of stuff for that. So what are some of the not so glamorous aspects of freelancing? Some hardships that people may not. Well, I think I've talked about them. It's you're in charge. All the crap comes back to you. If you hire somebody else to do something for you or for a client, if I hire somebody and my name's on it, all comes back to me. I'm responsible as a freelancer. My hourly rate is pretty high. But you have to understand, I have to pay all my taxes. I have to pay my own hospitalization, my insurances. Everything comes out of that fee, right? So that's one thing. A job, the difference between a lot of jobs, they pay benefits. Your hospitalization is covered, maybe life insurance. You have sick days. You get the same paycheck no matter what. The freelancer life is not for everybody because it can be up and down. You get good at it. It's not like this so much for me. Now it's kind of like this because I've learned how to market and sell, and I'm kind of established. And once you get established, you want to stay in touch with those old customers anyway, and because they'll come back to you. Sometimes, you just got to I stay in touch with all my customers, past and present. So, but it's an uncertain thing because you are an entrepreneur. Every time you do a job, you're out of work again. As soon as you finish that, unless you get the retainer model, where if you are in a business, you have a freelancing skill that allows you to have a retainer model, where retainer clients are monthly clients that pay you a set fee, and they just have it. You do certain tasks for them month after month. Copywriters do that all the time. They have packages that they'll sell. Maybe they'll do social media postings, so many blogs, emails, newsletters, things like that. So but it's an uncertain thing because unless you have that model, it takes a while to build, but it's definitely worth it. If you don't want a ceiling on your income, if you're like me, that you can work anywhere, that you have a Wi-Fi hookup, and live what they call the digital nomad existence, that's great too. Any advice for new freelancers on how to get started? Maybe reference your ebook. Okay. I have an ebook. Go into my website and go into, I think, services. And just when you hover over services, timpiccirillo.com, hover over services, and you'll see my freelancer ebook. Download that. If you're thinking of starting as a freelancer, it's free. Doesn't cost you anything. You're going to go into my email drip, and I'm going to try to sell you my Upwork course. Just be warned, because that's what we do. And that's okay. You can opt out of my email list anytime you want anyway. But the freelancer ebook, it tells you how to go about it, and how to start. Basically, you want to set up a platform online. What do I mean by that? Well, set up your business, set up social media profiles, and then post regularly, consistently on there. Set up a profile on Upwork, try to get approved on there or other freelancing sites, and start sending in proposals. Start contacting, find the niche you want to serve, and go into LinkedIn and start contacting people and telling them, build value first though. That's what people don't understand on social media or going into LinkedIn. You want to give them value up front. You don't do it anymore where it's like, hey, I got something to sell here, will you buy it? No, you've got to prove yourself. There's so much competition. Basically what you have to do is give them something up front, so provide a lot of value. That's why people do on their landing pages, they give freebies, right? Video downloads, checklists, all these, they call them lead magnets. It just nurtures, provides value, and that's what you want to do. And just get out there and start selling. Tell people what you do. Post on social media. Don't do it all the time. Talk about, educate them about what you do. What are the best, if you're a web developer, what are the best elements that makes a good website that's going to work for a business? What sells a business with the website? What are the elements they need? What components should they have? What should they put on each page? How should they structure their about page? What should be on their home page, right? Do things like that, educate. And then about once a week, ask them, hey, would you interested? Gary Vaynerchuk, I'm a huge fan, Gary V, put out a book a number of years ago, Jab, 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 Right Hook. And what that meant is it was kind of like a metaphor for social media. Jab, jab, jab means give, 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 provide value, right? Give, give, give. And then right hook is ask, right? So then ask for the business. Give, 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 then ask. If you can remember that, it's great. So that's basically, go to timpiccirillo.com, go to services, hover down, freelancer ebook, download it free of charge, okay? What do I enjoy most about being a freelancer? I like the freedom, because I can set my own hours. I can work. I'm flying home to Pennsylvania to spend the time with my elderly parents and my brother, about 11, 12 days at home, and I can work from there because I have a Wi-Fi hookup. I love that. I love that there's no ceiling on my income. I don't have structure. If I want to take a morning off, or, about once a week, I live in Florida. So during the nice weather, once a week, I'll take an afternoon off and go to the beach. It's just, critical for me to do that. But I compensate because I can work a Saturday, or I can work a Sunday afternoon, which I usually do anyway. So yeah, I love, I love doing what I do. The freelancer lifestyle gives me freedom. I can make as much or as little as I want for the most part. It's like anything else. You have to build the business, and I'm still building. It takes time, but I'm in a really good place, and I'm convinced that anybody can do this. So all you have to have is a desire, the tenacity and the persistence. Never give up. You're going to get a ton of rejection. Don't be afraid of that. For every no I get, it's a numbers game. Sales, that's all freelancing is. You're going to get rejected a lot, but for every no that I get, I know I get closer to a yes. So if you can handle that, it's great. It's the greatest thing in the world. It allows me freedom. It allows me no ceiling on my income. And it's just, I wouldn't have it any other way. So where can you get more? Again, timpiccirillo.com. You can go to my website, get that free ebook. And if you want to see the other side of this, I have a book on the homepage about outsourcing, about hiring from a business's standpoint. How do you get the best freelancers for the cheapest amount of money, right? And I co-wrote that with another entrepreneur, Renat Gabitov. He's a wonderkind who's just got his own company, and he co-wrote the book. And it's just, and it tells you from the other side how to hire freelancers. So you can get that. You can check out my Facebook page, Tim Piccirillo. Tim Piccirillo, speaker, marketing consultant, and copywriter. I'm on Twitter. I've got all kinds of stuff on YouTube, from my magic videos to I'm also a vocalist. I've got marketing videos on here and everything else. So feel free to do that.